Hey guys, Barrett here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're talking about the top 8 most common mistakes that we see in pickleball. I'm going to give you all of the juicy details on these mistakes. I'm going to tell you how to fix them. So let's get started. Okay, the first mistake that comes up quite a bit are pop-ups. Now we all do the whole pop-up thing all the time, and really the most important thing to understand about pop-ups is that it's all about pace. Okay, so if you have a lot of pace coming into you, so someone hits a hard shot at you, you can't then return with the same amount of pace unless you're doing an aggressive shot. So if you're trying to be defensive, as an example, someone hits a really hard shot at you, you have to let the ball come in and try to take pace off of the shot. Okay, so if I'm dinking back and forth here, do you see what just happened right there? She hit a nice little drive at me, and instead of trying to hit a shot, I let it sink into my paddle, and I let the paddle do the rest of the work for me. It's kind of nice because you can let the paddle kind of do its own thing here. So, like that. See that? I hardly even moved the paddle. Okay? That's how you get pace off the ball. It's all about letting the paddle do the work when a hard shot is hit at you. Now, if she were to hit some harder shots at me, here's what happens. Look at that. Hardly even moving my paddle. Now that was a pop-up. I mean, it's gonna happen, but that's an example of what it looks like here. So let's keep going here. Now see, I'm being totally defensive in this case. Okay, I can tell that she's winding up for a hard shot. So the last thing I can do is to try to hit a hard shot back, unless I'm just trying to be aggressive. Now, obviously, this is for demonstration purposes. I would hit those balls hard back, right? But the other thing here, though, is top spin. You have to be careful of the top spin. If you see your opponent doing stuff like this, where they're brushing up on the ball like that, or they're getting a lot of whip on it, they're breaking their wrists a lot, there's probably going to be a lot of top spin on it. And what happens is that top spin, when it hits your paddle, it'll bounce up off the paddle. Okay, so let me just show you what this looks like here. So did you notice how her volley went up real high? That's the top spin. So if you see your opponent getting a lot of top spin on your ball, or maybe they're like a tennis player or something like that, got to be careful and try to get those balls going a little bit lower. That'll really help with pop-ups. Okay, here's another really good one. Number 2, patience or lack of patience. Boy, this is a big one, and we hear it all the time, right? So here's a little mantra that I have when it comes to patience. Live to fight another day. What that means is that if you really want to go for a shot, but it's borderline, like you think you're going to mess up on it, it's best just to play defensive so that you can live to fight another day. Okay, so let me just show you here. Okay, so if we're just thinking back and forth here, the last thing I want to do is be impatient like that. Okay, I really want to attack and I really want to make that shot happen. The ball was way too low and it's just not going to happen. Live to fight another day. Just dink that ball over instead and let your opponent make the mistake for you. The thing, like that, the thing about lack of patience is that if you're the one that's making all the mistakes, then you're not letting your opponent doesn't have to do anything. You're not making your opponent work for their point. You're just doing it for them. You're working for them, okay? Patience is all about being a little bit more defensive with these shots and understanding that the net is way more powerful than you think it is. And it's not just the net, it's the sidelines as well and the baseline. Be more defensive with these shots and wait for that ball to get a little bit too high. Patiently, that's the key to this sort of stuff. Try to elongate the points and you'll be more patient in the long run. Okay, number 3 here, and something that's kind of on the opposite spectrum as patience is not committing to the shot fully. Now this is kind of interesting because a lot of mistakes come from doing kind of a half shot or a half intention shot. Let me show you what this looks like. So if Linda kind of hits one high to me, my instinct is to try to smash the ball. But if I think to myself, oh, I don't know, this may not work, what I'm gonna end up doing is I'm gonna end up doing this weird little pop-up thing. I see this all the time. So like that, where the ball just kind of goes up high, and I think I wanna kill the ball, but nothing ends up happening here. Like that, okay? I see that a lot. Commit. If you're gonna hit the ball, okay, assuming you've got the patience stuff going, do it. Commit to the shot and go for it, okay? A lot of this stuff has to do with being timid, okay? Being sort of kind of frozen. Loosen yourself up and go for these shots, okay? That's really the key to doing this stuff, is to try to get rid of that timid, sort of frozen feeling. Okay, number 4, something that comes up a lot is not paying attention to spin. Now, we touched on this a little bit earlier with topspin, but basically, here's how it works. Okay, it's really simple. Topspin, the ball is revolving this way. When it hits your paddle, it climbs up and it goes high. If it's coming in like this, it doesn't go right back out like that. It goes up, okay? Backspin revolves like this. When it hits your paddle, it goes down, all right? So if you notice that your opponent is doing these slices, like let's say on a return, their return is coming over, it's a slice, you're about to do your third, the ball is naturally going to go down. So you have to feel like you're gonna hit higher than you're usually used to doing, okay? Same thing with topspin. If they hit a topspin shot, you gotta hit it a little bit lower. Have confidence with this. When you do it for the first time and it works, it is like revolutionary. It feels so good. So pay attention to that spin. Don't let yourself get tricked up by that stuff. So as an example here, if we're going cross court and I'm doing my backspin slice, eventually she might like that. There's a ton of backspin on that shot and she wasn't quite ready for it and it just went into the net. Now, she did a pretty darn good job of getting all those slices up higher. She did exactly what she should have done. It was just that last one that tricked her up. So try to watch the body language of your opponent. If you see your opponent just wail down on it, slice like this, there's gonna be a lot of spin on it and you're gonna have to hit it higher. Okay, number 6 is trying to do something with a tough shot. There's this concept in pickleball called tempo. When your opponents have tempo, they essentially have the advantage. They can hit harder shots, they can hit faster shots, stuff like that. So if that's the case and your opponents have the advantage, the last thing that you can do, most likely, in most cases, is to try to hit an amazing shot off of someone else's amazing shot, okay? Let me show you. So if I'm here back at the baseline and Linda were to hit a shot from the kitchen there, and then were to go to my backhand, the last thing I can do is run over here and do some kind of amazing shot where I hit like a two-handed backhand right down the line, tons of topspin, perfect shot. Because I'm out of position and she has the tempo. So what I have to do instead is hit a much more defensive shot so I can survive. Okay, let me show you. Okay, I can't do that. I can't run all the way over here and hit some kind of amazing shot. That's gonna be very difficult to do. Okay, let me show you again. Okay, can't do that. I hit that way too high. And now obviously you don't want to be out of position like this, but this is just for demonstration purposes. Instead, I need to be much more defensive, okay? So I'm here again. I'm not going to go over there and do something crazy. I'm just going to do something much more defensive like that. I can't do an amazing shot off an amazing shot. It's very, very difficult to do. So I'm just going to do something a little bit more defensive instead. That way you can survive longer and you give your opponent the chance to make the mistake. Now, along the same lines as that is attempting shots that you clearly do not have. Look, I don't come from tennis, okay? I never played a racket sport before. Pickleball was my first thing. I do not have the two-handed backhand. Here, you wanna watch? I'll show you. I'll just show you that I don't have this shot. Oh, God. Went way out. I don't have the shot, okay? So the last thing I can do during the game is to do that shot. But the thing is, though, is that's a little bit more specific than that, because the question is, how do you actually know if you have a shot or not? The key is this thing right here, or your cell phone. The greatest thing that you can do is to get is to take video of yourself and see for yourself. Track your shots as you're watching, track your percentages. That's going to give you the reality and basically the reality check that you need to figure out whether you have a shot or not. Use that patience that we talked about earlier and force yourself to do a more defensive and normal shot so you can survive longer. The more points that you're going to play in pickleball and the longer your points are, the more practice you're going to get. Don't end them early if you can. Okay, here's another really good one. Short returns. I mean, we all do this, myself included. The problem with short returns is that you're making one of the hardest shots in the game, the third shot, a little bit easier for your opponent. Deep returns are brutal, especially if you're playing singles, by the way, but that's another topic. The key to doing a deep return is to understand depth perception. Okay, let me show you. Now I know there's a bit of a lensing effect on the camera, so you may not be able to see too well back there, but I want you to try to guess. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera a little bit closer, but I want you to guess how far is the ball away from the baseline when I return it. Okay, how far away was that shot? How far was it from the baseline? What do you think? So try to take your guesses, and now let's take a look, because I had a camera set up on the baseline there. So what most likely happens that you probably guessed that the shot was much further away from the baseline than you thought, and that's very common because of the depth perception since you're on the baseline. The key to hitting a deeper return serve is to actually force yourself to almost hit the ball out on the return to serve. I know that sounds really awkward, but it's kind of the way you do it. And then you'll be surprised. You're like, oh my gosh, wow, that was actually in. Another thing you can do, once again, set up your camera on the baseline and record all of your return of serves. It's very easy to do. Just get a little stand for your iPhone, your smartphone, set it up on the baseline, and you're good to go. That's really the key to hitting a deep return of serve. Okay, the last point, and by far the most important, the biggest mistake that people make in pickleball, one of the biggest, is footwork. Bad footwork. The more I play this game and the more I do these videos and stuff, the more I realize that footwork is like 50% of the game. And it could even be more than that. Footwork is essential. If you don't have good footwork, then the rest of your upper body and your swing and all that sort of stuff, it's just not going to come together. So let me show you a couple of tips here. Good footwork in pickleball is all about untangling. So if you hit a shot, okay, what a lot of people do is when they hit a shot, they stare, okay? So as an example, if I'm taking back and forth here and I hit a shot, a lot of people will do this and they'll freeze up and they'll watch their shot, okay? You don't need to watch your shot. You need to be watching the ball and watching what your opponent is doing, but don't sit there and just stare at it. When you hit a shot, you have to untangle your feet and get back into a balanced position, and you've got to do that quickly, okay? So watch. Here, and then back into balanced. Here, balanced. Here, balanced again. Like that. It's this constant rhythm and sort of dance that you get into with yourself when you're at the net or anywhere else, really. There are a couple things you can do to not get tangled up in the first place. A lot of it has to do with making sure that your balance shifts with you and doesn't lean over. I've covered this in another video before, but the key to balance in pickleball, okay, is to shift things over, all right, like this. Not lean like this and then step or anything like that. It's a shift like that, and you can get as low as you want, as low as your body will tolerate, and you can use the weight here to launch yourself back into that balanced position. Okay, let me show you. Shift, back. One thing that you can do is that if it's a little bit too far, this lunging motion, if it's too far, you can allow your foot to slide with you like this. That can really help. Not great for your shoe, but it's really good for the footwork. So try to focus on your footwork first and your swing later. The footwork is so important. When you really start to put some like priority on it, it makes your swing and your technique so much better. So guys, those are the top 8 most common pickleball mistakes that we all make. I hope that was helpful. Head on over to pickleballkitchen.com. Got a bunch more stuff on there. I've got tons of videos on this channel. So welcome to Pickleball Kitchen. Hope that you enjoy all of the videos. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'll see you next time.